This broadcast
You
is
are live.
live.
We are live, girlfriend.
Hi.
A little
There you
drama and
are.
trauma behind the scenes. Everybody knows that
Yeah.
sometimes the computer doesn't adjust the way you want it to. And so the microphone is gone and the headset is on, everybody. I've had enough with that microphone. I turned the machine on twice. I love it when newbies have trouble and you can't fix it by just yelling at it.
Right.
I didn't
Yeah.
yell. I just go, ah. So this is our second show. The first show, everybody knows, I did not press the button that says invite guest. And Sue was in the background and gracious enough that she was to ask me questions, and it went better than I expected being by myself
It went
first
very
time.
well. Yeah.
So
That
tonight
actually went well.
it went well. Okay, so tonight is our second. For however long it lasts, I started like this soon. I said, "This is a good idea. Let's talk." And there's so many topics. I was going to address her something that's dear to both of us is grief and recovery as our next topic. So do turn
Yeah.
in 2 weeks. Right now we're 2 weeks. I'm doing a couple other shows, so we want to make sure that I'm not stretched too thin. You may not think so, but I do have a life and I do my own work. So tonight we're going to address a couple things that are kind of odd, but not necessarily not dear to me because I think I've had experiences. But what about somebody you know, a younger woman who has a child, and she is a Sue? I'm not positive the connection, so let us know what that connection is.
It's a grandchild.
A grandchild.
She
Well,
has a
this
grandchild.
so grandchild of you or somebody else, we won't get personal, but this young woman has a unrelenting fear of abduction with her and her child. And with
Grandchild.
that, I'm
Yeah.
going to combine a couple of thoughts. And if we have time, we'll meld that together with past life memories. Because I
Yeah.
think what traumatized,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
wasn't sure when I was speaking with her what kind of response to give her. So that's why I'm tapping into you for this particular one.
What do you mean
Yeah.
response? Maybe you should have
Well,
told me.
because I didn't know a lot of the background with this woman, um, I was really reluctant to kind of lead the
Yeah, we don't
discussion anywhere in particular because I was just not
Well, we're having
familiar with her.
conversation and we'll just yeah, because
Yeah,
we don't want to get personal because even if I talk about my family, I say young woman or whatever. So
yeah.
we're just going to let her see the show and realize that we're not fixing her issue. We may be fixing a lot of other people's issues that are they
Hopefully,
tune into the show and make
yeah.
it broad enough. And everybody, we're going to go an hour. So I have a tendency to want to talk a lot. I have an engineering background, so I'm very detailed. As an artist, I'm detailed. So, in some ways, I'm trying to leave this open for you who might want to ask a question. Don't ask a question like, was I abducted? Am I going to get killed? Or am I been bred to somebody
Yeah.
else? I
No.
think it's too deep. We're kind of broad brushing this for those of you out there who've questioned it. Um, so, in some ways, I think we all could imagine that we've all been abducted, including myself. I call it having a dream because there really isn't any proof. There's a couple people I trust that I talk to that banters with me and say, Nancy, you were abducted. They've tweaked you a little much, too much at times. I think you're kind of odd and strange. I go,
Mm.
what do you mean by that? Well, you're not normal.
Yeah.
I go, well, I don't know about that, but why not? Why don't we say maybe some people's talents or the ambition people show are not aggression as negative, but positive because they get things done. It can't all be
Hmm.
medical. Just because someone
Yeah.
has a high energy level doesn't mean that that's negative. I've actually had people in my life that run as fast as they can, as often as they can. They don't know if they're going to live a long time. And I can address these people in another talk. When I come and talk to them about it, it's some unrelenting, I love that relenting fear of not accomplishing enough. Where does that come from? Does it come from a fear of being abducted and you'll be taken away? Well, you know, there's stories all through the Bible of the great master, the Moses, or whoever, take them away, and beautiful drawings. And now we look back at those um, drawings of the ancients, and they kind of look like UFOs. You know,
Yeah.
how far
They
back
do.
do we want to go? And what about the cave paintings around the world? Ancient aliens, please knock. I would love that
Yeah.
group. And they
Yeah.
talk about these wonderful paintings of odd creatures, like in um, Australia, the rounded heads with the indicators for shards of light coming off
Mm.
of them, skinny little bodies all over
Yeah.
caves that were protected for the millennia, 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. You have to go to a
Yeah.
place of thinking, not all those people lied. Those people didn't lie. And of course, you're going to go to a place that's saying, and I did a lot of reading today. I don't know if Sue got the articles,
Yeah, I
but
did.
okay, so we address sometimes sleep paralysis. Did the ancients have sleep paralysis? And they talked about it. Did they have visitors in the night? Um, and I have stories and stories. Uh, one of my books is going to be addressing how the angels came to talk to me and told me I would write a book. And of course, I've written three. I got more, but one of them would be more significant than the others. And I go, oh no, the first book was too much work. Two worlds, and it was the first time I tackled that. And the editor at that time, they wanted short and sweet. Let it read it fast enough for a plane flight
Yeah.
cross country for 4 hours. At that time, it was a good idea. And
Mm.
so in that, I cover spirit visitation. And that spirit visitation one night, I woke up and there was four beings coming into the room, had nothing of the look of what you see now until I talked to a Jewish girlfriend. And the Jewish girlfriend said, "Oh, you describe so and so of our Jewish Bible, an angel." And I thought, strange looking. And that was in 93. So all
Describe
those
them.
years ago, pardon me?
Describe them.
Short and stocky, had togas on him with a belt going around them, very skinny arms and legs, barrel-shaped
Wow.
body, very light, bright white hair, really whiskey. All four of them look exactly the same. So the one that came forward to talk to me, kind of a square head, um, and so this woman's when I described it, did I draw pictures? Well, I probably could one of these days. It's interesting when you have everything's interesting to me. Sometimes people like myself, when I draw, I sometimes can remember if I put my mind to it and back up in time, I can actually remember what they look like. I could also remember sometimes describing a spirit person to somebody and draw them. How is it that's possible that I would remember something so long ago? I have no idea. When I can talk to a lady a week ago, week later the mother calls and I can't remember that I talked to her or what I said.
Right.
Why is it
Yeah.
sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't? Oops, I got a hair, guys. And so we go back to get on track of the primitives and how often around the world do we hear stories of alien peoples that look odd. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking just of Yeti or Bigfoot. I'm not talking of the ancients that were red-headed giants. I see them as northern Europe, England, who travel around the world. Their definition, 7, 8 foot, might have been a little shorter, or maybe we, our peoples did grow that tall. I don't know. Um, but I want to go to a place of feeling safe and secure in the thought that our ancients did not make this up. And why is the same description? Oops, I just disappeared, everybody. Oh, there we are. Why do our ancients around the world have pyramids? And why the ancients around the world of those caves that are accessible and not damaged by weather or time, they have these kinds of paintings. Do we want to accept this? Absolutely. I started watching Star Trek. I was adult, and in 68, I watch all series. Had my first child in 69. Actually watched Star Trek while in labor. And so I come from that era of watching Aliens, and it was
Mm.
very fun. But I actually back up into the 50s. My mother would take me to Town and Country Village Theater by myself because I loved it. She would give me so much money and come back 4 hours later. I watched the same movie three times.
Yeah.
and and of course I saw all the and of course I can't remember some of them, but the Blob, and I watched the Thing from Outer Space, all the aliens. And being a
Yeah.
child, I was very ambitious and not afraid of anything. And I'd watch these movies, and my interest in engineering, my interest in outer space comes from being a child. And so the thousands of readings I do, those who approach me and say, I have a problem. Let me describe this to you. And many, many times I will enter timeline and see the bubble of fear, and I look at it, and a lot of that fear as a child is what I call the woundology that creates us to be humans we are today. And if I said, okay, as a child, you watched a TV show and it scared you. Now, remember, when I was a child, I didn't have TV until I was 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old. And so as a child, if I had gone to the movie, like my mother took me to a movie, would that have influenced me and buried deep in my mind that these creatures from outer space that come, we shoot a rocket into space and it comes back with a creature inside of it,
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense, but at the time it doesn't have to. It was just pure entertainment. What if I said I buried that deeply in my side of me? And as I grow older, that bubble of fear of not knowing for sure if that was real, could it come back? Is it something that could happen? And as an adult, I could recreate that. Now, I read a lot, but I always tell you if I read something, I tell you.
Mm.
Other things are impressible to me or what I've had conversations with people that I trust. So I kind of like want to tell you that yes, I did have experiences. I don't know if they're dreams. Is it because I watched the movies at Town and Country Theater and Marconi and Fulton? You people would know. Oh, I know where that is. Yeah, it was very popular tourist area and a little theater. It's very, very popular in the 50s and 60s, probably into the 70s. But anyway, so I do believe there's such a thing as woundology, and a lot of the things that cripple us as adults, people talk to me, I can go back to childhood or teenage years, or the first time they leave high school and they go, "Oh my gosh, you mean I'm responsible for myself and my life? I have to go to college. Yes, mom and dad are paying for it, but once I get done, I have to support myself." You'd be absolutely amazed the number of people tell me they're crippled for life for the thoughts of being self supporting and responsible. And maybe they didn't get enough at home to make sure that they were emotionally stable enough to take that on. It takes a lot. It takes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's other people like myself that couldn't wait. I wanted to go to college. I didn't know how to do it. My mom says, go out there and get a job and finish your college. And I did. Well, it took enough years before I got married. And it's, sometimes you finish, sometimes you don't. But anyway, but I want to address that as part of a reason why some people are so afraid of adoptions is that the fear of abandonment, of trial, an error of going out of their own could be incorporated with the thoughts of abduction because there we can put that fear and label it and all the papers I read on it, yes, I know there's psychosis of things that happen, and you watch movies, and it's a remembered TV show, and they contribute a lot of sightings on old TV shows. You have nighttime paralysis. We have shadows in the window, and then you take a next step. There's lights in the field that come in, and for me, I do believe they're here, and I got a couple of stories to tell you, and then we're going to go on to some other ideas that I do want to share with you. I lived in Pollock Pines. I don't know if anybody knows that is. It's an hour from Fair Oaks and Fair Oaks Boulevard and Sunrise, where I used to work. Had an office. And I was up there for 3 or 4 years. I loved the place.
Mm-hmm.
What made me move? I was in a lot of events in those years. So from '96 to 2000, I lived up there. One time I got snowed in where I couldn't go to a big event, and one time it snowed and I couldn't go back. I couldn't get home, and I had to find somebody in South Sacramento, a gentleman that saw me at a lot of events. It was like amazing. So I had to surrender and say, I can't work. I can't live. So that
Mm-hmm.
was the only reason I did go there. Um, but anyway, during those years, I hate getting older. As soon as you turn 70, it seems like some of the threads that keep us talking are broken. What was I talking about here? Oh, everybody in the audience. Okay, we know her. Yeah, she gets carried away. Um, Real imaginary.
You
Um,
were talking about why you left Pollock Pines.
right, right. So anyway, there was a couple people up there that I wanted to speak to. One's a young family, and she is so honest. Religious has nothing to do with it, but someone who is very cut to the cloth type of thing. You think of
Mm-hmm.
farmer daughter type of person. And she
Yeah.
used to call me up and say, I have a problem. Really? Tell me about it. And she used to talk about the UFOs that would fly outside the house because they were on a hill. And the lights, she didn't mind them there, but they were too bright. And I remember thinking, she's not panicking. She's not upset. She's annoyed. Of all things, I never thought I would hear that. At the same time, I think she got hold of me. She'll have to call me back, Paula, tell me when you had these visitations, and I'd love to hear more about it. It's been a while. Um, the other one was a gentleman that lived in in the valley, and he lives somewhere between Sacramento, no, I would say Lodi to Fresno, and his family
Mm,
had property, and he was adult, still living at home. Let's see, is that right? I think the property had multiple houses because I think he was married. And we had talked a whole hour about everybody in his family. It was like a marathon. 5 minutes before the hour was up, of course, I always talk longer if it's necessary. He says, "Do you know anything about UFOs?" I says, "And you want to end your hour with that?" And he says, "Yeah, we have some property behind us." And I do believe it was a time of year when everything wasn't green, it was brown. And he says, "They're destroying the property." And I go, "What do you mean by that?" And he says, "Well, their lights are out there at night. And in the morning, I go out there and there's big holes everywhere. Not a shred of scared, not any, I'm going to get my gun." He thinks they're just visiting. And how can I listen to that from two different people, the same time frame, pretty far apart, 100 miles at least? Same kind of a thing of flying around. I see a couple people in the room. Hello there. Um, Move my notes over. You know me, I'm the a note person. Hello there. Hello. Um, so what I said was both these people gave me the same response. I don't mind they're there, but do they have to keep me up at night? And the other guy says, maybe he doesn't keep me up, but I don't like burning big holes in my backyard. And I says, well, how far do you walk? Football field? And he says, the round holes from them coming and going all the time, like they stop over here. And I go, really?
mm,
And so I read articles, and the emphasis seems of the majority, including two I sent to Sue today, of the ones I did read, like 10 articles. It's like they want to put a psychosis to it. They want to go bad and wrong to the people that are doing it. Are you on drugs? Or do you just have paralysis at night where in some ways you can't sleep unless you take drugs? And so clearly you have a problem. It's not us, it's not society. Do you want a past life, I mean, a present life regression to go back and visit this? Frankly, my dear, these people have never asked me for that. Of all the people that talk to me, have never asked that. They ask my opinion. And a lot of times I would say, currently, I don't really have the training and a past and a regression to investigate abductions. I prefer past life regression. That's my favorite. In some ways, I'm really curious, would like to, but what would be gain? Because I have had dreams, I'll call them, where it's not logical. And first that I remember was in 2003. Um, my husband and I had been recently married, and we bought a house in Roseville off of Kirby. Everybody knows the Spanish homes that were in there, two-story. And in the dream, I'm waking up, walking across the grass with just my underwear on. And that's what people prefer to sleep in. And there is a fence, and there's a ladder. And I go up the ladder and I look over, and there's a round tube, and it goes down. And I crawl down this ladder, and it was kind of like 10 foot by 10 foot. It wasn't like very big. And there was a couple other people in there, three other people, I think, and there's two of these aliens. I remember thinking, well, if this is a dream, how come the seats are wet? How come the ladder is wet?
mm,
I go and sit down, and a window or way to look through it is right there. And I look and I go, wow, that's curious. And we take off. And we're following the freeway low to the ground. And there's a pass, like you pass over the freeway. And we're not trying to avoid the dirt of the car where the cars would drive up. What is that called, Sue? And and I say, you can't go through that. That's a wall. And they go, well, we got to keep this one quiet. Next thing I know, I wake up in the morning.
Wow.
And I told my husband, I says, I had the oddest dream. I said they knocked me out because I was making too much noise because I thought it couldn't go through uh, the Riverside overpass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I remember of this, it wasn't hot or cold inside. What got my attention is why are the ladder and the steps to sit down, why are they wet? Well, I'm sure a lot of people dinkle-dinkled on it. Or the grass was wet and I didn't know it because I was barefoot. I don't remember even thinking. But there's no fear and no trauma. I don't want to be regressed to figure out more because it doesn't affect my life.
Mm.
Other than people I trust say, "You're not normal. People don't do what you can't be normal." And I go, "Yeah, I am. Don't put me in a category I don't want to feel comfortable in. That's more uncomfortable than think I was UFO abducted individual." My
I
life has
just
been a
prefer to be called eccentric.
oh, wonderful. Well, people call me other thing. Eccentric is a better word.
Yeah.
Listen, girlfriend, at our age, right?
Yeah.
And
I,
so
I told I told my granddaughter I earned eccentric, and you cannot refer to me as crazy grandma. It's got to be eccentric. I've earned it.
Mhm. And the other one was everybody knows that we lived up on Black Mountain, Hornbrook, California. And after 3 summers, I did find that one person that wants to live on the mountain. It was the view that people die for. Had a 40-foot deck overlooking a big valley up and down with Mount Shasta. It's like, hello. And while there, I had a couple experiences. Well, we had the biggest sky in the big sky. Like you
Oh
see
yeah.
in big, big sky and not a lot of
Well,
lights. You don't when you're on a mountain, right?
yeah.
And so we could see Hornbrook, a faint, like I mean, little town. And not much else other than around the bend would be some other little town, and on and on and on. And in this dream, I'm not claiming. I just said it's a dream. One of those very tall, 8 foot, very slender bodies, kind of bumpy, broad shoulder, big head, come down to a point with long eyes. Yeah,
Mm.
maybe I created because I'd seen news of people who've had experience with that one. Why that one versus not a smaller one? You know, and I remember looking, and my friends all laugh at me because the stories I said this. It's just like me to say something like this. I was looking at him and I was admiring the suit it had on, much aligned to what people would wear as a wetsuit. It looked like
Mm-hmm.
possibly not rubber, but it filled in any crevices or imperfections of the body. It was smooth. What caught my attention, remember I'm an artist, I love color. Look at the color, two things behind me here, all the color. It's it was a fluorescent silver blue, form fitting, tight. And I said to him, I says, "Oh, you're beautiful." And of course, people would say to me, "Oh my God, Nancy, you're not frightened. You're not scared. You're saying things like it's beautiful." And I go, "Yeah, yep, it's beautiful. It was."
Mm.
And so maybe my maturity, I'm older. Maybe it's been a few times that I've been there, and first time I noticed a beautiful outfit he had on, or the body shape, or the firmness, or way it was laid out. It was a beautiful. And the next thing is this being, not a creature, a being, living being, looked, bent his head down and looked at me, and I go, and I smiled, and it kind of gave me that, wow, I've never been told that before.
A fashionista.
I'm a fashionista, and then so I'm trying to be straight faced throughout it, right? And I remember thinking, is that okay? It's like the dream. The next thing I remember is I was somewhere else. And whether you've seen a lot of TV shows of being on a spaceship or not, and you envision, if you would so, it being rounded. And so I'm on the peripheral of the inside, and it's very smooth. Everything is smooth, but within the smoothness of going around, it's quite large. And I look up and it, excuse me, the flatness and the curve going up to the ball of what the interior would have been. Like we walk from outside, go through this expanse. I would guess 20, 30 feet. I mean, at 40, it could be 50 feet. And I see the curvature of the ship going around until it reaches, can go to the other side. But you can see inlays of patterns as though you could open up a wall, or it was just smooth and expansive and no color. It was a gray color or silver color combination. It was just expansive as though no one was in there but us. Who's us? How many of us? But I was looking and I couldn't see anything. I just could look at the expanse. And I was, again, wow.
Mhm.
Did they give me the ability to say, see it? Like, I remember thinking I could probably draw it. It's so clear to me. Now, what does that do for my life? Well, if they're going to abduct me, clear up my sinuses, do something so I don't have this sound all the time. Why are they taking us? People who I trust say, well, it's because you're very intuitive. They're kind of like, da, da, da. So that was a thought I did ask. I did. And where I'm going with this is calming the audience. I'm telling you things because there's going to be a few things we're going to talk about that may be uncomfortable. And I want to tell you that this happens to all of us. Sue, what she's next. Maybe she has a story to tell. So I asked, I said, why are you taking us? And he did say, we're monitoring the ones like you, not female, not male, like me. And I thought to myself, that I was an artist, that I had an engineering background. No, it's my abilities. And
Yeah,
he said to me, we're monitoring, we want more of you for the future. Okay, what's future mean? 100 years, 200, 300? Because what they're doing is they're not categorizing, not selecting. If they're doing breeding, they're trying to get that ability going forward more so than those who do not have it. I'd like to
there is
ask
an
that.
increase in that. The
Increase
last
in that,
five to 10 years, there's a lot of people waking up with
waking up,
abilities. So
but
yeah, they're
not
waking up.
necessarily.
They're being activated. How's that?
That's a word. I've heard that word. And so I said, why? This is where it gets uncomfortable, everybody. He said, because when it's like I said, they want more of us for the future, not necessarily the immediate future. But he did say, we want to be part of the surface of the planet. They want to live with us. And as it is today, there's too many of us that would not allow them to be here with us.
Yeah, that's true.
Greedy, selfish, we're ruining the planet. How many times have you seen and heard, like 1974 or 84, those children in South Africa, and the message from those peoples on the
Hmm.
spaceship to those 25 children, whatever it was, I don't remember the numbers. You're hurting the planet. You know why they're telling us that? Because they want to be here with us. They want to live on this planet. I would identify them. This is where it could be uncomfortable. I'm identifying it as they're gypsies. They live with peoples for millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years, and they want to live here because it is where they want to live. And they want to share this place with us. And the way they test the planet, if it's still safe for them to be here with, even if we don't know it, is by doing the things they're doing. And we are animals to them like they are to us. And they don't necessarily want us. Um, Sue, would you get rid of the XXX? Block them somehow? I don't want
I
spam.
I don't have any access. You have to give me access to
Okay,
that.
yeah. How do I do that?
I have
No,
no clue.
it doesn't let you. Well, I appreciate people thinking that free girls in our city is important, but as a woman, I'm not interested. No one else. Oh, yeah, we're going to be spam for a while here. So I'll have to figure out how to block that. I'm really sorry, everybody that's in the chat room. I'm not creating this. So this is an interest to me because I don't like what they're doing to animals. I don't like Skid Rock or Ranch experimentation on those poor animals where they frighten those animals to death and test them. But it feels like maybe they're testing all animals, including humans, to see if we're so contaminated they cannot be here anymore. I don't like that. But that doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean they're wrong. They're people who want to live, and they had to leave their wherever they come from interdimensionally. And someone put a flag on our planet and says, "Oh, this is still good. They didn't. No one here is hurting the planet. We still got volcanoes, but we're more livable. Maybe Mars was like us at one time and become
I'm sure it
unlivable.
was. Yeah.
And then they moved here, and now they're living here. But are we part of Mars, or the aliens that are here now, supposedly, real Martians? Have to kind of take that in consideration. Um, there's so many of us in prehistory in the form of Neanderthals and all the others, Cro-Magnon, denizens. Were they the original and we've evolved to this? I can't answer that. I wasn't there. Or is it just a coincidence that we look like them because the aliens said they could modernize our planet, this place that we live, they could clean it up and keep it going. We'll just allow them to evolve. I can't answer that. I don't want to. There's many religions involved with this, and I'm not going to confront any of them.
Yeah.
So we got to tread easily. So I'm talking about a variety of things for the young lady that's talking. Where does the fear of them come from? Clearly, she doesn't want to be abducted. Clearly, she doesn't know she's special, that she would want to be monitored and her family to see if that gene, that ability, the awakeness, because those of us are intuitive. We're not necessarily the ones that are carrying guns. We're not necessarily the ones that would be antagonistic toward the government. We're not antagonistic toward each other. We live in the minds of our world versus in our flesh only. Not to criticize anybody, that's how I feel. And so maybe we have a peaceful gene in us, or we have a knowing because we blend with people so often. I have in 32 years. When you think of the 15 years I was doing group readings every week from events, psychic fairs to the churches, to East West Bookstore. That was once a month. Then I did a psychic fair here, one there, Madison Avenue lectures, invites. I'm talking tens of thousands of people. Wow, 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 right? All those people sought people like me out, not me, just everybody, for enlightenment, to understanding, to have a greater feel of why we're here and existing on this planet, this dirt rock. And I think it's part of the evolution of being awakened, of understanding why we are here. And a lot of you know, I'll just share again, the reason I got into this environment is 87, I came down with cancer. 88, I had my third surgery. Um, a- April, I turned 39. July 1st, I left my husband of 21 years. Got into this 2 years later. Um, 2 years after that, I left a 24-year career Pacific Bell to become a professional psychic. Big leap. You know why? The reason why we're here was so important. Why do good things happen? Why do bad things happen to good people? Um, and then we're going to throw in there, oh, I found out the reason. Oh, we're being abducted and tested. That put a clincher in that. But you could stress all day long about why are they here when, in essence, it's very simple. And there are multitudes of people floating around, living in the ocean, living in the skies, living among us because they love it here and they have no home to go to, or they're planetary tourists or gypsies. So while we were up in Hornbrook, my husband leaves to go some errands, and he comes back and he says, "You won't believe what happened." So coming off our mountain, it's one road in, one road out kind of a thing. So he's coming down the mountain, and to his left, he sees three cars. I wonder what these people are doing. Oh, they're all looking up and they're all pointing to the sky. He pulls over and looks up, and there's this cigar one, slow
Mm-hmm.
moving, no windows. The valley going into Montague, So if you go the back road from Hornbrook, nestled between the mountains, you come around on Black Mountain and then you come down into Montague. If you have Google, please look at the valley. One of the reasons I love living there is going to Montague or going to Wairika. The valley carved by glaciers take your breath away. And that's where he stood coming down the mountain with his car pulled over. And going across the sky was a cigar shape, silent, slow. Comes home and goes, "Oh, Nancy." And I go, "What, honey?" And he described in detail. He was like amazed. Everybody knows I see ghosts. Oh, again. What? You want me to talk to your dead people? Okay, well, again, I'll describe them. And my husband's never seen a spirit. I have never seen a UFO scar shape. And I go, "Is that fair? Can we not reverse?" And when he said that to me, a word popped into my head and I saw the word tourist. And
Mm.
I just went, "Tourist?" And he goes, "Really?" From where? Well, if I was living in the planet, in the ocean, or in the air, excuse me, everybody, uh, and they're just enjoying the beauty of our young civilization and planet, and why not? Why not? I know a lot of you have seen Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall, the first one. And in that one, they're on, I think it's Mars, right?
Mm.
And the people live in mountain, and it's all very unattractive. And they have interior fans, and you can't get outside because it's desolate and brown and ugly. Let me give you a choice. Would you rather live there, or would you rather live here with real color, real green, real blue? And that's why they're here. And a lot of times you're seeing people, pardon me, things in the sky, and they're living and witnessing where we live and enjoying it. And of
Sure.
course, if they were trying to land or talk to us, oh, excuse me, let me shoot it first. How about UFO, Bigfoot hunters? How about people that want to find a Bigfoot? How many are telling you, we just want to capture one and take it to our zoo or take it to the lab? Pardon me? Or shoot it? Don't they have the right to live here too?
Mm.
So our instinct is to capture and kill, or kill and capture, and not everybody, because I don't want anybody to call me. In some ways, I'm very sympathetic. How would you like to be of a planetary system that doesn't allow you to live there? And you get on a ship and you go across a bazillion miles and you find this little marble in the sky and it says, "Welcome, come and live here." Like enjoy this place. Look how beautiful it is. And they're struggling to survive. And their little planet is covered with these ants with rifles and guns, and we're trying to kill each other and blow it up with nuclear. And there's pictures and there's documentaries on how, oh, they're here to save us. Look what they did. They burnt out the rocket. They have rockets go in space, and you see these UFO come in, and the rocket head inside that would explode, or nuclear, they're zapped clean and dirty. They're just gone. And you kind of wonder, oh, they trying to save us? No, it's selfish. They're trying to save themselves. They don't want you to mess up where they currently live. Will they all leave once we mess it up? Absolutely. Do you want to mess this place up so they'll leave? We're going there. But they just want
Mm.
to coexist with us. And you have to appreciate, how do they build their equipment? How do they build whatever they're living in? Well, they wanted a civilization they coexist with so that we would be cross, uh, cross-trained. It would improve our living here. It would improve how we coexist with other nations, to have the technology and the medical that we could live here with that science. Only if we share the planet. Oh, would you mind building me a spaceship? I want to go somewhere else. Oh, please. Can we build one for ourselves? Absolutely. So they want to co-live with us, not control or eat us. Is
Mm.
it, do we have too many people here? I have someone I talk to, and it's like, I don't want to go there with that. like the introducing or
Yeah.
making people, we don't want to do that. I think that we can kill enough of us just by being here. How about some of the
Yeah.
things from the past? How about AIDS? This beautiful young man didn't know he was, and he came here and killed how many thousands of people from Africa? He moved from, was a
Yeah.
what airplane person on the airplane helping the what they called stewardess. Yeah, I mean we could do it by ourselves, all by ourselves. Sue, go ahead.
Hmm. It's my mind's going in four different directions at the moment. Thought processes.
Okay, that's
It's yeah.
okay. So
It
Sue,
every
huh?
Well, I was just going to say everything is so fear based the last 10 years that it's really hard to lift up above that so you can function.
I think
But
we have to re-identify how we look at where we live, but those people that want to share the planet with us. When he said
yes.
we want to live above ground, so then of course I don't think of asking. Remember, this is a dream. I don't know. What do I want to say? Oh, I am part of that group of people. I would like to meet somebody that has the same experience. That would always be fun. But I'm not allowing it to be more than what it is. But I do want to. I didn't realize it's 6:40 already. I, I do want to. I was trying to give you a broad base. I wrote all these notes down. I sent her the notes also. I want to address a few things that also contribute to this young woman possible. I didn't say there's anything wrong with her brain. Let's not go there first. But that would be a consideration of how does she is she stable in her own world? Does she have trouble with crowds? Does she have trouble with people walking near her? Is she afraid of maybe even being attacked? There are things that can happen. Childhood trauma, abandonment, death of a parent. Reflect on what your childhood issues mean to you. The world news, UFO stories, YouTube, TV, history, travel, even ancient aliens will discuss things like this. Do they put a spin of fear? Absolutely.
Well,
Uh,
one of the things with this particular person was she did acknowledge that she spends all her time delving into YouTube, but only looking at the fear-based stuff that matches
okay,
what her opinion is. She's not
correct.
looking for any other information, and was quite uncomfortable when I offered an alternative view. Very uncomfortable with it. So I
Right.
was just kind of
Well, we're going to,
careful, and I wasn't sure how to approach that.
I think we need to look at it two different ways. First off, they are testing animals. Of the
Yeah.
people they take, I cannot address the one alien peoples that are bad boys. I can't answer
Mm,
that. Are they testing the humans? I can't answer that. Are they breeding with us? Absolutely, because they want to integrate who they are into our society and want to look more like us for what we offer. So they may do a breeding program so they can breathe here, or the breeding program so they look like us so they can buy French bread and spaghetti. Who knows, right?
mhm.
So I want to go back to this. Childhood trauma, abandonment, death of parents, reflect on what your childhood issues are. The reason I bring that up is, like I said, 32 years of talking to people. When I talk about issues in people's lives, from relationship to work environments to dealing with death, whatever, how you handle it on a trauma negative aspect, a lot of times it comes from childhood trauma. We bring it forward. Yes, it can come from being inundated by, look how many movies we had. Even mm, I just forgot the name of it. The Day the Earth Stood Still, the first one.
Yeah.
Scary because of those years, UFO was being introduced. 1947, of course. Even at 1942, I think there was some sightings of the fellow, the airplane guy in Alaska, wherever, whatever.
Mhm.
And so the first thing to do is be fearful. Some of the most important psychics of our era, Nostradamus, was a fear-based intuitive. These terrible things are going to happen. I
Yeah.
loved it. I thought it was interesting, but how can you live your life? So we get indoctrinated with the negative aspects of life, not the positive. I had
Right.
a friend, and I was connected to his newspaper, him, for a while, and I can't remember what it was. And it was called the Good News newsletter. Well, it ran out of business. It couldn't keep it up. You know what did better? was those Sacramento Bee, the new paper magazines I'm talking about, the ones that
mm,
promote trauma and aggression and things to be fearful because as cavemen, the only thing that kept us alive was our moment to moment, are we going to get eaten? And
yeah.
so we base our life on the amount of fear and how to live it with the amount of fear you think you're going to be killed. That is actually the bottom line. And your family.
Mm,
You can talk to every mother, well, not every mother, but I would say 75% of mothers. If you say, how's your child doing? Oh my gosh. I get up every night to listen if it's breathing. It's a 2-month old. We are overprotective because that's our offspring. And that is kind of part of who we are, mother instinct. And a lot of times we bring that fear forward. So if you introduce terrible things happening around the world, car accident, my father was killed by a drunk driver when I was 6.
mm,
Well, that's affected my whole life.
it
You
would.
know, yeah, it's affected my life. I didn't even realize what I had lost until I was high school, and then after I got married and had children of the age I was, my husband had some things go on. He was in the Los Angeles airport when my daughter was 4 or 5, I think, and they had a terrorist thing go on. Oh my gosh, he was right there in the middle of it. I almost couldn't believe it. Um,
I was going
and
to
then we
ask if you have any questions coming up.
do you have any thoughts relating this to the vaccine? Not really. No, a vaccine is what humans do to not continue being sick. Um, I talked to somebody about when COVID came out. Uh, I got it right away, and it really affected me. I was sick for about 4 months, and luckily at my age, I didn't end up in the hospital, but really, really sick. So the couple people I banter with, and I didn't ask permission to say their name, who they are, so I've got to be quiet. If you're listening, you know who you are.
Mm,
and they kind of feel like maybe if the aliens had given an idea to let that virus escape, because I do believe that they let animals out of that China lab and they sold the animals to the live animal market. And the first thing I got was, before it was ever discussed, I got an elderly gentleman, and that part of the world is very warm, and he had just the shorts on, and he was in a room that was cement, and it dipped down to the drain, and he was eating dinner, and he was eating a bat, and I suspect that why I was shown that, and that was long before the bat was, uh, they talked about it, and clearly he had had the bat, went live because he purchased it and then he cooked it and ate it, and I feel like he was the first one. And you say, well, Nancy, what are you talking about? What are you thinking about? I says, I don't think. That's the magic of people like myself. They just get it. And
mm-hmm.
I can't question it because if I do, then I'm going to question everything I talk to you about. I can't do that. In some ways, people say, oh, you're channeling. I don't know what it's called. When spirit people talk to me or you want to know who's around you, I always tell people, I just am a tool. You're there or you're not there. Let me tell you who's standing right next to you, or who, spirit people, or your dead relatives, or your dead husband, or all the combinations. So when things like this come up, someone says to me, here's my question, then I'm shown a picture, like a movie. And that's, why am I getting it? And where do I bridge heart, get to that place where I can see that? A lot of times people say, well, your readings, Sue wants to talk about Ron, her husband, deceased husband.
Always.
I go to her always. I married them. What year was that? What year?
That was 1998
98, and that was in
in
Pollock Pines.
at Pollock Pines
Yeah,
on
I
your
had a
deck.
wood
That was
on the
lovely.
wooden deck. Oh, I had some homes that really lovely. Um, uh, I love you. And I love
I love you
Ron,
too,
and he's
sweetie.
right there. He's sitting to your left there. He's sitting on the
Always.
arm of the couch, kind of
Is it?
sitting up high. Yeah, he's kind of squatted on this. Yeah, people do things like that. He's
Yes.
lighter now. He's laughing at me. But anyway, I just see what I see. And so when you do a reading, I go to Sue and I back out of her and I bump into whoever's next to her. And I give that person a little energy and I can see the whole body if they wish. So that's called courting or blending with somebody, go to somebody. So when I'm shown a picture of which I know nobody in China, well, I have a couple clients, but they're not going to know about this guy eating a bat. How is it that I'm seeing a picture? I think the universe is showing it to me because it's not something my creative mind would have come up with.
Some people call that remote viewing.
I possibly, yeah. Is that like I'm trying not to answer the question, but I'm not getting the virus to be, the vaccine to be any part of letting that bat go? That was something that the other countries, I know Russia had its own vaccine, China had its own vaccine, we have our own. I just can't comment. I have biology and family members, and I'm just not part of that.
Any
Um,
other questions?
so there's nothing great about being a pure blood, thank goodness. That is a great story. I am really into the pure blood of Christ. He was an AB negative. The Mediterranean, there's only a certain groups that have the AB negative blood. I am. He was a great healer. I'm not a healer, but after studying the Bible as much as I didn't do, but did do, because I did do ministry the old fashioned way, I could talk about it for hours. Um, and so the things that he did, I'll never do, but a lot of things he did do, I can do. So I think that that bloodline is all over the planet. Did they create the opportunity for this gentleman to be extraordinary? I can't answer that because I think the aliens have been here really a long time. I'm not even going to
Yeah.
go there. Can't
You
even
know,
imagine.
my mother was AB negative.
Yeah.
Mm.
Not that I'm, that it's just what it is. I'm going to go back because uh, just a bunch of highs. Nice. Thank you, Dolly, for giving us a question. Anybody else? I've got to continue. Sue, please, if you have more you want to. The world news, please jump in. The world news, like U.S. Story, scares this woman and she reflects that onto her child. That's not a negative statement, but when you're frightened to death watching the news and cities with children being bombed, I can't even go there. I'll start crying right away. We're going to, as parents here in the United States, we reflect that fear onto us, onto the children. That's a very legitimate fear. The
Yeah.
other thing I do want to touch into this. I married a Catholic. I went down that road. I never believed in past lives. 32 years of talking to people, past life regressions I've done myself. In readings, I'll come up with things unknowing that this person's involved in, that the picture in the past life is being brought forward. I am now forced to believe in that. And I love Ghosts in Your Child. Go to YouTube and just type in past life regression, child reincarnations. You'll be overwhelmed by the numbers.
Oh,
So I
there's so
believe
many these
so
days.
many. So I do believe that we bring forward what we call bleed throughs. Um, a lifetime that wasn't finished, a lifetime where um, being connected with somebody isn't done. We do continue. And one of the things I want to caution is there's a couple of things that I felt in my past lives that, remember, I do this every day, so I'm going to get flashes more and more. So, I saw myself as a small person in what I call the fields of somewhere else. And they were dry like at end of summer. And I'm sitting there quiet, right? And I must be playing with something because I'm looking at my hands and they're very dark. So I might have been of the African continent. And as I look up, I see a tiger jumping on me. And done, done, done. What does that mean for this life and why was it shown to me? I do not know anybody who has been dog attacked more than I have. Amazing. Amazing. Scared with a snake when I was 4, fell down and cut my hand open. A lot of weird. I have stories that probably give people nightmares. Why is that? Is it to learn that bad things happen and we just have to work our way through it? Possibly, but I do remember that. I do remember getting killed here that way. So we can have bleed throughs. What if this young woman who has a child was abducted by pirates or abducted as breeding stock for a group and had to leave behind a child, or a child was murdered? I was able to watch um, a movie with my husband. He has one of the HBO stations. And it's a late movie. A movie just came out, and it's Viking. And the
Mm.
fella that played the Tarzan, tall, very good-looking blonde guy, He was the main character in this, and his tribe of peoples would go into the villages and kill everybody, mothers and children. What if you carried that trauma into this lifetime and these same people, mother and child, are together, and that woman is brought through their memories of being murdered or her child be murdered? She's going to be very, very protective. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I believe there's such a thing as past life bleed throughs that affect us in each lifetime. Most of the time, I don't think we are in a place where we remember, but we'll have a situation work its way out. A lot of times you do remember.
You know,
Um,
the first one that I remember is prehistoric with mammoths and spears and you know the fur diapers. But it was like about 20 of us wind up getting run over a cliff with large
oh,
animals chasing us off, and you know, it was a hunt gone bad. It's
yeah,
just
right?
like,
Yeah.
but that's I had that dream of falling for at a very young age, from like 3, 4. But I had that dream until I was 10, just recurring almost nightly.
Ooh,
It's
I
like,
don't like that. Yeah, bleed through.
yeah, but
Falling.
it was never scary, but it was just repetitive.
I do want to
And
say, Dolly, thank you for correcting me. What she meant was, I'm not going to say her name out loud. She is a person that has not had the shots. And I give
yeah.
her, I have clients that did not take the shot and they're dead. So from my standpoint, I have to think of that. And a beautiful young woman whose husband, uh, he didn't have the shot, but he was in a way of taking care of people in emergencies. And he took care of somebody who had COVID and he ended up dying. He was only 44. So I have a lot of sympathy, but a lot of respect for people to be able. This is what's good about a democracy, everybody. You can make a choice not to. As someone of my age, I'm older than Sue, a couple of years, but
Oh
of our
no,
age,
only
the
one,
only one, oh,
only one.
that we at our age had to be more careful because I
Hmm.
did have it, and I got really sick. And I went in for doctors about 2 months after I finally recovered, and they do that little thing on the finger, and my oxygen level is only 94. And I've been an athlete in my life; it's always been 100. And so I said, "Oh my gosh!" And I was so much better. And the doc looked at me like, "Oh fudge! Wonder what it was when you couldn't breathe." Um,
Yeah.
was our history pre-written? Ooh, ooh. That's another show, Dolly. I will answer that. I don't want to go there.
Can you
We're talking
abbreviate it? Can you
about,
abbreviate it?
but this is something else we need to talk because predestination versus free will is one of my very favorite topics. So we have past life unconscious memories being abducted. Absolutely, very possible. She could also bring that forward. As I said earlier, maybe murdered by the Indians, you're going to protect your child because you couldn't take care of the child before. Um, uh, in this lifetime, the death of a child when you were younger, when you saw someone taken away, that can affect you your entire life. My father getting killed, I didn't realize what death was until I was a lot older. He was gone a lot. He was an artist for Universal Studios between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. He was gone a lot. And when he was gone years, it didn't occur to me that he was dead. People would say, "Your father's dead." And I didn't know at that age. I mean, we're talking the 50s. And so TV, radio, things like that when talking about it.
You know, it's all
So
very
nowadays, children,
whitewashed.
yeah,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, we have death a lot today, and kids are watching mom and dads get shot. That would
Well, and
traumatize that
plus,
child forever.
just the games they play these days is all shoot 'em up and blow 'em up.
Hmm. Uh, a possible fear of spouse taking child away is another great trigger for being afraid of abduction of any kind, including UFO. Now, I've made statements where this woman could have been, as a child growing up, been abducted. Now she's carrying that over in child. I'm not dismissing legitimacy of her personal fear. What I'm doing is trying to bring a balance that she consider other things. Because right now she's like a screw with a drill, and she can't look around it. I talk to people and I say, "You're at the bottom of a well and you see the light of the opening and you can't reach up there because the walls are thin. You can't get outside of the bottom of the well. I hope I've given you a couple of ideas. Um, yeah, I wrote this down too. Past life unconscious memories of being abducted by Indians or slavery taken away from loved ones. Oh my gosh. Absolutely, we want to put that in category. Now, the other side is I do want to cover a couple of things that if you remember, I don't care if I was abducted because I don't want to be reminded. I have past life regressed. Now, present life regressed. Some people in this field, amazing, and there was no screaming and yelling, so it was easy to go there, right? He's written some books. He's been part of the UFO community for 30 years now. Um, it's really great. It's great that I was part of that. Wonderful. Counseling to talk out childhood drama and trauma. That's the first thing you want to do. Even if you talk to someone that will listen to you over a cup of coffee, pretty hard to nail a friend down. Would you, by the way? So I always encourage groups. I've had the best success with parents bringing children who were suffering grief to church led groups or counseling groups or school groups. Not that that's just an idea for you as an adult, a woman, is to find like-minded who are suffering the trauma of separation, abandonment, death, or abductions. Hypnosis uncover that past life or present life trauma. Dr. Brian Weiss saw him in person. My gosh, it might have been early 90s, Sacramento, downtown Sacramento. Read all his books. Oh my gosh, what a brilliant man. So his first case was a woman who was an assistant to another doctor in the hospital that he worked out of in Florida. He was a proctologist, oncologist. He had 2 or 3 different degrees. He does. He's still alive. And he had a friend that said, "By the way, this lady's got all this trauma." And after a while, of present life hypnosis, he was able to find problems. And as soon as they discussed it, oh, this is where that comes from? Oh, I understand now. She would wake up out of that hypnosis and everything she would figure out would be fine. It was wonderful. So, in some ways, that can open up, well, there was one trauma, one phobia, one issue they can never breach. He sat back and he says, just go. Go to where that problem was. Zap, zap, 3,000 years. She jumps back. And he goes, whoa. He didn't believe it. Didn't. What made him believe was the next time she allowed him to talk to, she went between lives. In between lives, she met his deceased father. And the father says, I have your son, the son that was named after me, and the son whose heart was backwards, like a chicken. Guess who left his career to do this full time? So if you're interested, Dr. Brian Weiss, Weiss, I don't know where he lives. I know he has an adult daughter that now they together have an institute. They do lectures. They travel around the world giving lectures and talks. It's pretty exciting. Very exciting to know there's innovative people, risk takers. They're willing to move away from their career. I'm a big risk taker. People say, I'm afraid. I says, listen, I was an engineering supervisor making as much money as a single woman after divorce could. That wasn't good enough. Take a leap of faith. Okay. And I base that on the fact that in 87, 88, when I had my surgeries and treatments, people died. They did.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, well, universe, if I have yet 5 years left to live, how would I live it? Well, when this came up and the universe, and that's one of these synchronistic stories you hear, oh, how did I end up there? Oh, it's a whole hour. Now, not 15 minutes, but I don't want to do it tonight. We're talking about trauma and drama. And I said, this is how I want to live whatever years I have left. Well, the joke's on me, and I've been 32 years in this. They clearly don't want me. Though Sue and I've talked and said, where's that Blarney Stone? I just kissed it again.
True,
So,
true.
so hypnosis, and Dr. Brian Rice does have a hypnosis disc with a book. It's a green book, and I just end up just giving it to my husband to try. And he really liked it, and try to figure out where your trauma, this life, last life, where it comes in, where you're so afraid. And it could be anything, but we're talking about the fear of abduction, and that. Group therapy, I've already mentioned that. And those who are part of the YouTube community, I belong in one in Manitoba. I've not been able to get on. It seems to be on the same time I'm on the shows. That kind of group where they talk about what their experience was, you find others and you listen and say, maybe it's not so bad. I won't remember. My child won't, but they claim, I don't know, that there is a generational thing going on here. If that's possible, absolutely. I don't know. Don't know. And if you don't know something, you don't I know anything. So until I know or supposed to know, I don't know. I'll call them dreams. They are kind of fascinating. And by the way, you're beautiful. And I tell that to people like, oh my God, that's just what Nancy would say. So group therapy to come over this. I don't believe in tranquilizers. I don't believe in deadening the body. My drug of choice is coffee, half regular and half decaf. Keep me talking. And we need to live our lives. The most important thing we have is the time we have left. Next to that is our breath. We can take one breath at a time. You can take one step at a time. Do you wish to live it in fear? Do you wish to use that precious time up with fear and anxiety? And there's such a word, and years ago, my doc told me um, there's a great channel, Mind Unveiled. Okay, so write that down. She's Dolly. Thank you. Mind Unveiled. I don't have any idea what it is, but she's recommending it. So it's kind of about the Freemasons. Ooh, I know a lot about that. Freemasons. I do like that. So she's kind enough to put that in a reference there. We'll see what that is. Um, to live without fear. I think we all have a level of fear, like I had the fear of cancer for a couple decades. At one point, I go, well, I'm working for the universe. When I'm done, I'm going to be done and I can leave because I know we survive. The fear of abduction is a fear of being killed in a car accident. It's a fear of leaving your house that you get mugged. It's a fear of eating the foods that's going to upset your stomach. There's only so much your body can handle with it. And then at what point are you losing your life? So that's what I really want to talk about is we can create a heaven and hell on earth. We don't have to die to go there. And if you live that
Mm.
way, you'll ingest it and it will bleed out on your precious child. Your child will say, what is wrong with you, Mom? You got fear all the time. First thing I would do, please, is don't watch the movies. What was that when Tom Cruise, it was War of the Worlds? Oh, scary. Hello. I would never let a child watch that or anything like that. But yet, look how many cartoons and super movies we have with violence, or the cartoons now with aliens in them all the time. You think that's a mistake? How about Spielberg? He met a fourth. What was that Spielberg movie, UFO one? It was called
Close
the
Encounters.
Encounters of the Third Time. Wow! Tell me he didn't get Spielberg didn't get inside information from the military. Oh yeah, they're talking about it now. Absolutely, he did, and that was not bad, ugly, mean kind of critters. They saved the people that would have died, and then they released them all at once. If that's true, where are those people? Clearly, they're not out in public, or they are. They've been indoctrinated to let their story be told that they're 200 years old, but they were saved. They weren't eaten. Of course, you're going to go back to, yeah, someone's reminding me, Twilight Zone, To
Mhm.
Serve Man.
Yeah.
They had the cookbook, right? Oh, don't want to go there. That's scary. Try to fill your life with beauty and poems. The word I wanted to tell you earlier is the doc told me this is like 4 years ago. He said, do you know the word mindfulness? Ah, I love that. Are you mindful of who you are today? Are you mindful of where you are? Are you mindful how peaceful you can be? I have a way of kind of calm myself. I had Graves' disease, and one of the glands that's affected is your adrenal gland. It's called the fright and flight. And when I get kind of wound up, I go, okay, fright and flight, calm down. And then I go to a place of mindfulness. I like being calm inside. I like to hear my heartbeat. I like to be still. So the word mindfulness reminds me to be mindful of how I am living in this moment. Whatever words that you can go, if you're getting into a fear place that will affect you from moment to moment, go inside yourself and realize you're alive, you're breathing, and you're existing. And even those of you whose life will end because of a condition, I I was in a place where I did hospice for 2 different groups, and the Kaiser one, I didn't care for. It's a totally medical environment, and there's just, and so, I forgot the group in, Roseville.
Sutter.
Paul is gonna not like that, I forgot his name. He's a minister, he's a lovely man. Anyway, um, when you deal with people who are ill, sometimes the moment that's cherished for them and the family is to listen to them talk to you about their life and how what they've accomplished. And mindfulness reminds me of that. It's like sometimes don't reach outside yourself to see the beauty of the world. Look inside of yourself also. So I hope I've covered. The other thing is meet up groups. The one in Manitoba UFO. I was found that on Meetup. Absolutely, I would go to YouTube, find groups there. UFO investigative groups, absolutely. Stay away from scary movies, YouTube
Mm,
included. Now, I don't want anybody to write me letters. I did that. You're taking, well, entertainment's entertainment. You're not the ones who is suffering. I can watch those all day long and I'm not having dreams. But there are some that are emotionally sensitive from a past life intrusion, a young lifetime, in this lifetime, trauma, drama. So those people that are having issues of balance and mindfulness, stay away from those things that'll trigger it. Um,
mm. Are we winding down?
I'm
We're
trying.
at,
Oh, it's 7:11. Oops. Most people think it's
yeah.
only an hour. Therapy, group therapy with others who fear alien abduction and how they continue to live their lives without the fear. I think I covered it. Sue, you want to talk a little bit? I kind of
No.
overtook the room, but we kind of have an agreement. She would
What's
be my rock and bring the questions in.
yeah, no, I'm good. I think we can wrap it up.
Do you think I covered what would be of interest? Do you think I covered with
Absolutely.
your daughter,
Yeah,
the granddaughter in your life, whether it's her granddaughter or somebody else? We want to be real
it's
careful
somebody
not to
else,
say.
but yeah. Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you.
All right, everybody, I've just really had fun with you, and I hope you enjoyed this. Do me a favor, it's the end of the, and I don't do a lot of advertising. There's going to be more shows for us to see, for you to see, and if you want to subscribe, you want to put a thumbs up on me here, it always helps. I've been in business so long, but never really involved with the YouTube, so it's time. It's time.
It's always a thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Ring the
Thumbs
bell.
up, sweeties. Oh, okay, everybody. I
If,
love being here. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll call it a night.
good night.
Okay. Good
I
night,
will talk to
everybody.
you soon, sweetie.
Yeah. Give me a buzz, hon.
I will. Bye, baby.